All right, this is big news, and if you care even a little about Samsung phones, you'll want to hear this. Samsung has basically confirmed something people have been arguing about for months. The Galaxy S26 and Galaxy S26 Plus are using Exynos again. Yes, Exynos is officially back. Not rumors, not guesses, a real benchmark just showed it. Let me break this down in the simplest way possible. The Galaxy S26 Plus just showed up on Geekbench, and it wasn't using Snapdragon. It was running Samsung's own Exynos 2600 chip. This was the Korean version of the phone with model number SM-S947N, and that N at the end is important because that's how Samsung labels phones made for South Korea. This happened after the base Galaxy S26 already showed up earlier with the same chip. So now we have two phones confirmed: Galaxy S26, Exynos 2600, Galaxy S26 Plus, Exynos 2600. And guess what's missing? The Galaxy S26 Ultra. No Exynos version has been spotted for the Ultra at all, which pretty much confirms what leaks have been saying. The Galaxy S26 Ultra will use Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 everywhere. So yes, Samsung is doing the split again. Now let's talk about this Exynos 2600, because this chip is actually very interesting. First of all, it's made on Samsung's 2nm process. That alone is wild. 2 nanometers is next level stuff. Smaller chip, better power use, better performance, at least on paper. Now, the CPU setup sounds complicated, but I'll explain it very simply. This chip has 10 cores. Think of it like this: 1 super strong core for heavy work, 3 strong cores for serious multitasking, 6 lighter cores for normal everyday use. The main big core is called C1 Ultra, and it runs at 3.80 GHz. That's fast. Then there are 3 C1 Pro cores at 3.26 GHz. These handle things like gaming, camera processing, and heavy apps. And finally, 6 more C1 Pro cores at 2.76 GHz. These are for daily stuff like scrolling, chatting, and watching videos. So the idea is simple: fast when you need power, calm when you don't. Now let's talk graphics, because this is where things get spicy. The Galaxy S26 Plus is using the Eclipse 960 GPU. This is made with AMD. Yes, the same AMD that makes PC and console graphics. Samsung and AMD are still working together, and this GPU is based on RDNA graphics. In simple terms, this is not a weak GPU. On Geekbench, the phone scored 24,964 in OpenCL. That's a strong number. What does that mean for normal people? Better gaming, smoother graphics, less frame drops, better performance in heavy games. Games should look better and run more stable. If Samsung doesn't mess up the software, this GPU could be very impressive. Now let's talk memory and software. The Geekbench listing shows 12 GB of RAM, Android 16, and most likely One UI 8.5. So yes, the Galaxy S26 series is jumping straight to Android 16. Storage options are expected to be 256 GB, 512 GB. No surprises here, but it's good to see Samsung sticking with higher storage options. Now here's the part that will make some people happy and others angry. Samsung is not using Exynos on the Ultra model. The Galaxy S26 Ultra is expected to use Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 globally. No region split, no Exynos Ultra, only Snapdragon. So Samsung is clearly saying, if you want the absolute best performance, buy the Ultra. This is classic Samsung behavior. The base and Plus models get Exynos, the Ultra gets Snapdragon. Again. Now let's talk launch timing, because everything is lining up. Samsung hasn't officially announced the date, but leaks are very clear. The Galaxy S26 series is expected to launch on February 25th. The event will likely be Samsung Unpacked, San Francisco, USA. Pre-orders could open the same day or just a few days later, and actual sales are expected around March 11th. If you pre-order, you'll probably get the phone in the second week of March. So yes, this phone is very close. Now let me talk to you honestly, like a real tech reviewer. This Exynos situation is complicated. On one hand, 2nm chip, new CPU cores, strong AMD GPU, good benchmark numbers. On paper, Exynos 2600 looks solid. But we all know the real question. Will it stay cool? Will it save battery? Will it perform well after 10 minutes of gaming? That's where Exynos has failed before. Benchmarks are nice, but real-world use is what matters. If Samsung fixes heat and efficiency this time, Exynos 2600 could surprise a lot of people. But if it doesn't, people will complain again. The biggest message here is simple. Samsung is confident enough to use Exynos again on 2 flagship phones. That alone tells us something. They wouldn't risk the Galaxy S26 and S26 Plus if this chip was bad. At the same time, they are playing it safe with the Ultra by using Snapdragon. So Samsung is clearly testing the waters. Now I want to know what you think. Are you okay with Exynos coming back, or do you only trust Snapdragon? Would you buy a Galaxy S26 Plus with Exynos 2600, or would you wait and spend more for the Ultra? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this Exynos versus Snapdragon story, it's far from over.